Jeff Karan, he was asking, well, he wasn't asking, but he mentioned that he has a wedding on Monday to go to, and he's been progressing very nicely since we made an adjustment with his calories and macros. And we've never went over with him, I don't think we have, the protein sparing diet. And I figured Bill, BP, Jeff, I don't even know if we really went over it with you too much in detail, but Brennan, at least with you, and then obviously Hannah and Chad, you guys know all about that. Why don't we go over some tips, right? Protein sparing, what to do. Jeff actually just put in the chat box right now. He said wedding weekend starting tonight through Sunday, right? So you guys know the protein sparing diet. We're going to go in more context about that. But why don't we just go over tips? Whether it's a wedding, whether it's traveling, or whether it's just helping staying consistent on the weekends. I want to go over tips, and then Hannah and Chad will finish up with you guys after you guys give some tips, some feedback about that. I want to dive into the workouts, especially the kettlebell circuits. Hannah, with you, seeing how you like those and whatnot. BP, let me call on you, man. And the reason why I'm calling on you guys today is just because one, anytime like Bill, when you were talking, you were talking all about the forum. I'm like a kid in the candy shop, man. I'm feeling like a proud coach, right? Because it's like I can tell you're, acquiring that knowledge and you're able to retain it and share that with other people. That's what it's all about. You have protein sparing, which we're going to talk about, and then you have over here intermittent fasting. Now, if let's just say that somebody has 2K calories for both, right? Exactly the same. It's how you utilize those calories. Now, if you're doing the protein sparing, just like what BP mentioned, you're pretty much just having protein options for breakfast and lunch leading up until that evening time or that event, whether you're going out to eat, whether it's a wedding, whatever the case may be. Now, where there's pros and cons to this is the simple fact of if let's say you're having egg whites, protein shake, for breakfast, and let's say for lunch, it's just chicken breast, and that's it. Because like I said, you don't even want to have protein bars. You really just want to keep it to just lean protein options, the lowest calories, the highest in protein. That's pretty much it. If let's just say, ballpark it, we used for breakfast and lunch together 500 calories, right? Well, that means over here, we only have 1,500 calories left for, going out to eat or, that wedding, whatever the case may be. Now, where this is a con is obviously it's less calories to play with. Where there's a pro is a simple fact of, you're making it a lot easier to actually hit your protein target. Anytime I do intermittent fasting or, one meal a day, if let's say I'm going out to eat or anything like that, the last thing that I want or the last thing that I am focusing on is, okay, hey, my first meal of the day, I just want to, make sure I hit all my protein targets and all the things like this. So no, typically my eyes are a lot bigger than my stomach. I want the foods that I shouldn't be having because I'm starving, right? I'm listening to my stomach rather listening to just being more aware and cautious of my macros. So this is where the protein sparing can just help you stay more on track. But once again, hey, you're not having as many calories to play with. Now, on the flip side, intermittent fasting, you have all your calories, right? You're not eating nothing for breakfast, nothing for lunch. And for dinner, you have exactly all those calories left, 2,000. But once again, if let's say your protein target is 200 grams of protein, it's a lot easier to, let's say, have, I don't know, we'll say 60 grams of protein for breakfast, 60 grams of protein for lunch, over here. And then we only have, 80 grams of protein to hit and focus on throughout the rest of the day. Over here, we got all that protein, which is it's tough at times. So let's go around the room. Let's actually go to Bill. I'll go to you first. Brennan, I'll go to you. And then Hannah and Chad, I want to go to you guys also. What do you prefer? Protein sparing versus intermittent fasting? Maybe it's a combination of the two, whatever. And then what are some tips for staying on track? So obviously Jeff has a wedding, but since this is being recorded, somebody else might be traveling or just having a hard time staying consistent on the weekends. What are some tips to kind of keep everybody on the straight? Bill?
Well, full disclosure, I suck at both of those options, right?
At least you're
Um,
honest.
so so I do a little bit of a combination, right? I try to get it because I know if I'm going out in the evening, especially at a wedding where I have zero control over the food, that I
Yeah.
have zero chance of getting in my protein at that event. Zero. Um, so I'll try and get protein in before I go. So I'm really doing more of a protein sparing. Some of the guys who do protein sparing like get all of their protein in like at breakfast, and they'll have 200 grams of protein at breakfast. I think that's batshit crazy. So I can't do that. So I kind of gotta work it in as the day goes on. But again, to the points that Joe was making about the protein sparing part, the food I'm eating going out there is typically all protein, right? And I try and conserve as many calories as I can. The key for me is when I go to whatever event I'm going to, especially if it's a wedding of a loved one or something, when I get there, I am there, right? And I'm enjoying it. And I mean, I'm mindful to a degree, right? I'm gonna do the best that I can. Um, but I'm also gonna say, you know what? Right? This is one of those 80-20 things, right? I'm gonna do the best I can to prepare, but once I'm at the wedding, right? I mean, I may not go for 5,000 calories, but if there's a piece of cheese, there's a piece of cheesecake, it's going down, right? And then tomorrow, I'll get back on the horse and get back to my habits again. The whole idea of the program is that it's not, it's not Noom or it's not Nutrisystem or it's none of that stuff, right? It's how to more consistently live your life. And weddings are a part of life, and splurging and living is part of the program. So
Yeah.
I would encourage you to be mindful of the events that you have going on, but um, don't let them drive you to not enjoying the big moments in life.
No,
Can you share though,
thank you.
Brennan, how you use the protein sparing diet on a day where, let's say, you want to incorporate the alcohol? Because maybe somebody might be listening in and they're struggling with incorporating the alcohol. They're struggling when it comes to losing fat, and you've had success. You want to share some success stories
Yeah,
about
I definitely can. And to an extent, I pretty much do it every day. So I start the day with egg whites. I have about 8 of those a day, first thing in the morning. Um, then kind of for flavor, I'll throw in like 2 sunny side up eggs and kind of mix that all together. That gets me on a good start. And then, I do turkey at lunch. So I'll just get like a grilled turkey patty, and I kind of have it all prepped. Same thing with like 98% fat-free turkey cutlets. But I'm very big on trying to keep the fat as low as possible and just the regular consuming of food. So that when I do get to dinner or whatever else that I want, um, I've got a lot more fat to work with. I'm even conscientious on powder, so I'm not necessarily going to ghost Cinnabon just for the flavor. It's because it's actually the lowest in the calories.
it?
So I'm always kind of looking at that. It makes it a lot easier. And then, then I've got that room at the end. If you're looking at alcohol, bourbon, tequila is always going to go a lot further because you're really just spending calories. You're not so much on the carbs. But it's going through this for a while. I'm starting to learn on that. Once you do start doing that, you stop eating.
Yeah.
That's one thing I
Yeah.
wasn't
We
doing
we
before.
had that conversation today on our check-in. No,
Yeah, I
but
guess
this
that
is
one went
good.
way over my head before, or I was paying a bill, talking to a client, something at the same time. So, and
Yeah.
then just the past week that clicked, and I was like, what?
Yeah, yeah. No, this is good though, because like what you just mentioned, it goes with everything about the proper preparation prevents poor performance. You got it all mapped out, it sounds like. And what's nice is like you pretty much said it best. Hey, I'm going to stick with this structure, but in the evening time, I'm going to give myself some leadway. I'm going to apply the 80-20 rule. I'm going to fit it in right the best way possible. And obviously, on today's check-in, we went over those tips and tricks on just how to manage that a little bit better. But yeah, man, that's it. You got the nail on the head with that. So obviously you prefer that over the intermittent fasting then?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I did. I'm not doing Lent, just so I can have fun on the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just,
BP, Bill?
the real struggle I have with just the idea of intermittent fasting is if I if I do that, even if I'm planful of it and I'm at home and I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to fast today, I'm only going to eat one meal, right? and I get that 180 or 200 grams of protein in at one time at like, for dinner, let's say, um, man, I just want to crawl up and die afterwards. I mean, that's a lot of food,
A lot.
right? That's hard to get in, and it's uncomfortable.
Well, Bill, why do you think like, and this is typically what happens with most people, they'll hear about fasting, they'll hear like, oh, cut out your breakfast or don't eat past 7 p.m. at night. They'll go ahead and do it, but they don't actually do it properly. Because what you just said was the proper way to do it, meaning you're going to fast for a certain time frame, and then you're still going to hit those calories, still going to hit those macronutrients. That's the proper way to do it. Most people out there, let's say they have 2,000 calories, and if they're only eating one meal a day, maybe it's only 500 calories worth. So what happens over the course period of time is like you're pretty much malnourished because you're only getting 500 calories in each and every day as opposed to 2,000 calories. You're not getting enough proteins and carbs to maintain that muscle. We then lose the muscle and we slow down.
Yeah,
Great.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying. So even if we do it right, it's just not pleasant. It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, guys, like fasting is just a tool. Okay. Like don't like even much as I dog fasting just because it made me have a binge eating disorder back in the day. It's still just a tool, right? Just like most stuff out there, like protein sparing, that's a tool. A water cut, that's a tool, right? Reverse diet, that's a tool. It's just what tools, and this is the way that you should look at your own health and fitness journey is like you got a tool bag, right? You got a toolbox. And like for this travel event or this wedding or this season of life that I'm in, what tools do I need to just help me get the job done? That's the best way to look at your health and fitness journey because it also keeps you in mind of like, this being a journey and a marathon rather than just a sprint with the end destination, you know? So go ahead.
When we did that fasting challenge, that small group of us, right?
Mhm.
And it, so we would fast and we would eat between, I think it was an 8 hour window we gave us to eat, right? By the end of that 8 hour window, man, I felt like Joey Chestnut on the 4th of July, man. I was ready to just die.
Good
Right?
old Joey Chestnut smashing the hot dogs.
Yeah. I'm like, it's just uncomfortable. And
It
especially if
is.
you're intermittent fasting for an event and you're squishing that timeline from I mean, we had 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
The intermittent fasting is doing it to like this.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, this one is a struggle. But now, once again, some people can easily do that. Like Bill, there is certain days where I'll skip breakfast, I'll skip my post-workout. Because like for today, for example, okay, I'll typically have lunch and I'll typically have like, whatever me and Allison go get for date night. It's probably typically sushi on Friday. So I'm getting the bulk of my calories, the bulk of my carbohydrates in then. But for lunch, I know you said, hey, I don't know how guys smash all that protein. Like I already got my chicken breast, I already got my egg whites, my protein shake, and my Greek yogurt as a dessert already kind of lined out. So I am having in that. But like on certain days, that does work for me because I listen to my body. Like sometimes I prefer to have my meals spaced out just because of how hungry I am. And then other times I might be starving and I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to my
Yep.
body. I'm going to smash a big meal right here, knowing that I got to cut out some calories later on. Right. So it kind of just depends on that person, day of the week, right? How they're feeling,
Yep.
hormones, etc. BP, let's go back to you and then we'll go to Hannah and Chad. Um, Between fasting and protein sparing, do you have a preference? What do you like to do? What works best for you? Like, what are some tips also?
Intermittent fasting did not work for me because I just I ate way too much whenever it was time to eat. So I think I ate way over what I was supposed to. So and then I
Like
was just miserable.
your eyes are
I was
bigger than your stomach type deal.
yeah yeah
That's
yeah.
how
yeah.
I was.
I wanted to eat everything in sight,
Yeah, that's
no
how I
matter what
was.
it was. Yeah. So and then I was miserable the rest of the time because I was starving. So yeah. So the protein sparing is way easier. Um, I usually just I have these little guys that I like snack on, have two or three
Yeah,
of these a day. And then when it comes time to the event or just dinner in general, um, I can usually eat whatever I want. So within reason, of course, but yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's easy to
Good.
get your protein in early.
It is, especially when you get it all mapped out, right? Like your
Mhm.
foods.
Yeah.
We're all pretty much a creature of habit too. It's like you make those small little tweaks, right? Like acquiring the knowledge. What is the protein options? What are the best, 5, 8 different breakfast or snacks or lunch options for you to hit that protein target, for you to hit those macronutrient goals. And then you just kind of plug and play, you
Yeah.
just kind of feel for like what that day is, what those numbers are going to yield to.
Yeah, it does make it easier if you do plan it out ahead of time.
Yeah.
And you log it before you
Yeah.
get started. You log it
That's
all.
the key. Yeah,
That is the
that's the
key right
key.
there.
You got to log beforehand, right? Because
Mhm.
that's the accountability piece. That's what's going to help you stay on track.